Well, hello and welcome to I Love Gay today. And I have a special treat for myself and for all of you. It's Nicholas Snow from PromoHomoTV. How are you, Nicholas?
I'm great, Matt. Thank you so much for all your support of the launch of PromoHomoTV and, of course, your decades of friendship. I'm so glad we're still on the planet together working to make a difference.
We are. And that's why it's special to me and to you. And for our audience that doesn't know, I mean, Nicholas was with me from the very beginning when we had started Gay Wired. And we met for the first time at Jerry's Deli.
Famous
right?
deli across
Famous
the street
deli.
from Cedars-Sinai Medical Center.
Yeah.
I want to say Beverly, but Melrose. I think that was Melrose.
Beverly, yeah, it's Beverly Boulevard.
Yeah, that's right, Beverly Boulevard.
We met there. It was love at first sight. We were on your, and that's what's fun about this show is that it's a reversal because we were on your show at the time when you were doing. No, it wasn't even Notes from Hollywood. It was Tinseltown's Queer.
A Queen's version of Larry King, which people today wouldn't necessarily understand what that phrase means, but
yeah,
it made sense at the time.
It did, and so. Now you've got the new show, actually an entire network and series of shows, and which you talk about. But what I was going to say is that I believe it's almost like a culmination of all those years of all the work you've put in with the show on cable, the film festival work you've done, and all the other stuff. And you just kind of combine, and now here we are in 2020, in this crazy year, and you're able to launch something that in some ways brings it all together.
It's kind of overwhelming, Matt. And I'm very clear that I wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for the decades of hard work and the collaboration with other people and the fact that necessity truly is the mother of invention, that I have needed to develop all kinds of skill sets along the way. I consider myself a multimedia entertainment activist, and my personal mission statement is to honor and express my creativity that makes the difference. Yeah. And when I came out in college in the early 1980s, I was a communications major at the time when we were seeing the onset of what would be known as the AIDS epidemic. My great-grandmother died. My best friend committed suicide. And I just had this very strong awareness that one of the most valuable things I had was my life force. Yeah. So I just set about yielding it. And I've made mistakes along the way. I think I was a bit insane during periods of time. And I'm glad that through maturity and time and space and distance, I can be much more effective across the board as a communicator.
Yeah, well, you've been doing this for the last few years based out of Palm Springs. And I've been there with you during Pride and other events where, I mean, you were doing like live coverage and Facebook Live and all that. So you've kind of really honed your skills over the last few years as well.
Well, Matt, I don't know if you remember this, but you will remember it when I mention it. But when we were together in the 90s and I was doing my own PR, one of the lines that I planted in a press release, I sent out a press release and it said, Nicholas Snow, who has been referred to LA's primo promo homo on the go-go. Well, I planted the line, but it got published in newspapers. And so then I could say I was referred to LA's primo promo homo on the go-go. And fast forward, so I was credentialed to cover the White Party for an audio podcast that I had for 4 years. Yeah. And right before that White Party, we were enabled, the Android devices, which I had at the time, were enabled for live video. So I thought, well, instead of recording this audio, I'm going to broadcast. Well, within a few days, those broadcasts were getting, I had gotten like 10,000 views of my White Party coverage in a very short period of time. Yeah. Then you and I and Brad Furr and one other person were having lunch in Palm Springs a couple of months later, and I had this aha moment. And I thought, wow, I can do everything I've ever done under the banner PromoHomoTV. And I literally, while we were sitting there at lunch, I went and I registered the URL PromoHomo.tv while sitting at lunch with you.
Well, you've also broadcast Palm Springs Pride, and when I was there, I was amazed. I mean, people were really actively engaged and tuning in because maybe it was too hot or they just couldn't really get out with all the crowds, and they enjoyed watching Pride through you.
Well, I've been the official broadcaster of the Palm Springs Pride Parade for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I've done this with a panel of 4 announcers on the parade route. With a PA system. We're officially sanctioned and set up by Pride. And then I have generally operated a single camera where I would provide additional on-air narration for the viewing audience.
Yeah.
But this coming year, because of new technology, I can have multiple camera angles along the parade route.
Yeah.
And I could actually choose to operate the broadcast on location depending upon my internet connection, or I can sit in this room.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can import cameras from throughout the event. I can actually broadcast events all over the world on PromoHomoTV by collaborating with individuals in those communities that have fairly decent knowledge of, for example, using a smartphone on a gimbal.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. Now I don't have to ask you what's the future of Homo TV. I can see it as especially as you're honing your skills and evolving and getting better every day. But what is tell everybody, what is Promo Homo TV and like some of the shows you've got going on?
Okay, well, PromoHomoTV has expanded into an online broadcast network with a worldwide reach with 5 unique original programs, plus the repurposing of the very famous Tinseltown Square public access TV show.
Yep.
That show will gradually be digitized. It will be made available for a worldwide audience. And all of my media archives, this is already set in stone in final planning, will be given to the One Archives at the USC libraries, even the new stuff that I'm creating. The reason that I wanted to do 5 shows and that I can do 5 shows is that the technology that I'm using, StreamYard, allows me to have a virtual studio designed for every broadcast. Okay. So I schedule a broadcast, I can enter the studio, I can tell the studio which show I'm broadcasting, and that sets up everything that I need, all the components that I need. Yeah. So there's the Nicholas Snow Show, which gives me a broad ability to cover all kinds of topics. There's Hot in Palm Springs, which is news and views relevant to the Coachella Valley. Yeah. There's Higher Powered, which is taking recovery out of the closet in terms of 12-step work, but also looking at more expanded stories of human potential and spirituality. And I have Notes from Hollywood, returning to a famous brand that I've had that is reports and profiles of people passionately pursuing professions in the entertainment industry. Say that 3 times fast. And finally, I have Itinerary, which celebrates out in this world travel. And I know that you have a niche in the world of LGBTQI+ travel. And I look forward to showcasing many of the people you've worked with in my show, because we can go to a lot of places in the world, but we may not be safe there. And I think us to know where we can be ourselves and where we need to worry about our safety. And I also, in all my programming, want to facilitate a global conversation about what we are experiencing across the board. And of course, it always has been important to me, but it's more important than ever that the people, places, and things that I put in my program reflect and support the diversity and equality of humanity. Yeah. Other than that, Matt, I haven't given it much thought.
I love it. It's interesting though, because like when we did your show, Itinerary, and you really had it all set up where it was able to simultaneously broadcast on YouTube and Facebook. What are the advantages? What's the reasoning behind doing like these live shows versus just kind of recording and editing later?
Well, one of the best and biggest advantages, and this will take time for me to build up my live audience, is I can curate social media comments and put them right into my show. And I can have a 2-way communication with my audience all over the world, which is very important. I can also be very timely. But perhaps one of the most important reasons, and I know that you'll understand this, is the fact that post-production is very time-consuming. Even doing a show live where the show itself doesn't require a lot of post-production, I've ended up needing to wear lots of hats. For example, I'm a graphic designer, I'm a web designer, I'm a social media uh, expert. I've learned about lighting and technology and green screens, and then there's still post-production required. And you're coaching me with this, because even though I love doing the long form videos, I need to also make shorter versions of all of my videos and start even putting videos that are designed to be short to begin with into the pipeline. But the nice thing is the pipeline exists now.
Well, that's I have a very simple in my head. It's easy. The short form is there and to encourage people, excite people, get them engaged, so that they're interested in the long form. Because if you just throw long form out, long form meaning 10-minute videos, 20-minute, 30-minute, you throw it up there, people have to, they're scrolling through their life. Life nowadays is not the way it was, where they'd sit back and have an hour to spend on this. Another scrolling through, maybe they're waiting for something, and you got to catch their attention in that scroll and then get them to go, wow, this is hot. How do I learn more? And that's how we do it here.
Well, and as you know, Matt, for years I've been talking about ways I could collaborate with you again, and my whole slate of programming is being distributed in partnership with the hashtag ILoveGay social media campaign on Twitter, which does extend beyond Twitter. So I'm excited that I get to brand ILoveGay on every page of my website and at the beginning of every single episode of my shows. And this speaks to the power of collaboration and partnership that you and I have had all these years. We all bring our unique talents to the table. And I have to say, Matt, I'm very proud of you for all you're doing in the world of video.
Well,
you're just rocking it, Matt.
It was not planned. It just sort of came about when everything fell off the cliff in March. So, but the upside is that I've actually got a plan to be able to take this when we're out in the real world again, to be able to not do a Zoom as we're doing right now, but actually have another camera in the real world at events. And we should do this one together. I'm thinking IGLTA, which is their convention, is going to be in Atlanta in May. But to be able to be like at the trade show and have interviews coming in, and having, instead of a Zoom thing, having a really good quality interview and recording, and then merging that with what we're doing here. Maybe the background would be people walking around, kind of blurry in the background for in the trade show, in the event itself.
The whole world has changed. It reminds me of when you and I went to New York for one of the big initial gay business expos. Of course, that predated all the technology. And by the way, we need to give a shout out for ourselves, because we were one of the first to do simultaneous live television with internet chat in the public access studios of Century Cable in Santa Monica and in Eagle Rock. Basically, you set up a laptop to a phone line, you dialed into the chat room, we went live, I let viewers know that they could chat with us in this particular chat room, they would go, and we were some of the first to do that.
No, it went very well. We were also doing like live broadcasts at Pride festivals. And if you remember as we were working together and collaborating, I don't know if you remember that flight when we flew out together to New York.
We were talking the whole time.
5 or 6 hour flight went by like that, because we were reinventing the world.
Yes.
And here we are today. So I'm really excited for not only what you're doing, but also for everybody that hasn't heard about you yet, to be able to discover and see some of the various shows you're putting out. You did the first one with the launch of Global Pride, and I thought you did an amazing job. Global Pride itself, the press release just went out today that they hit 57 million viewers. So there's a lot of success stories.
I watched 12 hours of Global Pride live, bursting out into tears throughout. I could, burst out into tears now. I just want to say, and I said this earlier, that I'm more aware of my white gay male privilege than I ever have been. And one of the things I'm aware of is that in participating as a civil rights activist focused on the LGBTQ spectrum of issues,
Yeah.
I had this assumption that we were all fighting the same battle. But now I'm so aware that no, even though I chose to be on the front lines, and by coming out, I surrendered heterosexual privilege, I'm still showing up in the world as a white male.
Mhm.
While at the same time, these very brave Black activists and trans from all ethnicities are fighting their own battles
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
I really was buffered from most of what they were going through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm taking a deep dive into that awareness. And I know that I'm not the person to teach on these issues. I need to listen. I need to look at my own responsibilities, but I want to use my platform to amplify voices that don't deserve, that do deserve the spotlight and haven't been getting the spotlight they deserve.
Yeah. Well said. No, I think we have an amazing future here together, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing where our next chapter goes.
Well, thank you so much, Matt. People can go to PromoHomo.tv for all sorts of information. In the About section, they can find everything about the lineup of programming, but also there's information on how people can submit stories and
Yeah.
guests to the variety of shows. And I'm just very thrilled that we're on this journey together.
Me too. Well, thanks so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me.